A full audit is absolutely necessary. We should get injunctions if necessary. And if I have to do it, I'll fight on the floor of the House of Representatives to stop the Electoral College from being certified. We only need one senator to join to ensure that that challenge will then be subject to a full vote of the Congress and the Senate.
The state legislatures, they're the bosses, not the governor. And what happened in Pennsylvania over these recent weeks is a constitutional travesty. Governor Wolf tries to get his reforms, his vision, as he was entitled to do, through the legislature of the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania. He failed. He then goes to the state Supreme Court, which by a divided vote accepted the substance of what Governor Wolf was doing and then added their own nooks and crannies as well. Happily, in recent days, we've seen Justice Samuel Alito step in as a single justice. He has the power to do it. And essentially, in a very short order, say the legislature is the boss. What the governor did, this is my interpretation, is utterly unconstitutional. What the Pennsylvania Supreme Court did is utterly unconstitutional.
This is what matters. The Declaration of Independence and the Constitution, or we're going to lose our republic. We're going to lose our republic. We cannot have Democrats and their surrogates running around in different states and so forth and changing the voting rules. This needs to be resolved. This needs to be fixed once and for all going forward, or every future election is going to be a mess. So keep your beliefs in God, the family, the Declaration, the Constitution, and the country. Fight on. Fight on. Be heard. Embrace your principles, but have faith that in the end the system will work. And if it's not working, it's up to you and me to make sure it works. Just remember also, the Declaration and the Constitution are not self-executing. It's up to us. We've had a lot of major battles in this country over the years, over the decades, over the centuries. This is one more of those battles. We'll get through it. We'll be stronger for it.
Matt Gaetz, Ken Starr, and the great one, Mark Levin, walking you through right there. The Constitution is not self-executing. You have to be an instrument. You have to make the system work. We're going to make the system work. Everybody out there, you've had a weekend to catch your breath. Now it's time to get back to the barricades. We're going to fight this one. Not just fight it, we're going to win. You know, Joe Biden wandering around in another car parking lot, right? Or as the British would say, as Raheem would say, a car park, right? He's wandering around in the Toyota dealership. He's talking about we got to bring the country together. Here's what Biden should do. If you want to bring the country together, you have to fully cooperate. Your campaign, these Democrat state officials have to fully cooperate to see every ballot, to make sure that every ballot is certifiable, every ballot has a chain of custody, every ballot is verifiable, therefore every ballot is legal. Donald J. Trump got almost 71 million legal votes. 71 million legal votes. Show us what you got, because we're going to grind through the courts until we get to the bottom of what your votes are. So if you want to bring the country together, you will never be considered legitimate. You will never be considered legal. The 71 million people that voted for Trump will never accept this until it's fully vetted. And I realize the mainstream media is going to go through a meltdown and social media is going to take it all down. Hey, it doesn't matter. It's getting out. It's going to stay out, and we're not going to stop. Trump won 71 million votes. He won the presidency, hands down. He's going to close on that. We're going to close on the two seats in January in the Senate. We're going to take over the House of Representatives in 2 years. They're breaking apart already. Poor AOC is throwing her toys out of the pram. She's quitting politics already, right? Here's the reason. Joe Biden's just a cipher. Everybody knows that. All they have is the orange man bad. That's not enough. That's not enough to hold your coalition together. If Biden wants to be considered legitimate, if he wants to be considered legal, you have to come forward and be proactive. Not sit there with happy talk. Words are not going to do this. Actions are going to do it, and we're going to take action. And I don't care if Jack Dorsey doesn't like that, and I don't care if Zuckerberg doesn't like that. All I care is our head of the marketing department, Madeline Pells at Media Matter, likes that. Madeline, don't light the cigar until we're the #1 show in the country, okay? Then you can light the cigar. Then you've done your job. By the way, if I had Madeline, I'd be king of the world, right? This is instead of our marketing department.
You would, but then you'd have to look at Madeline Pells.
That's okay. You see, don't get snarky. I think Madeline's fine. She's on it. She's into, what I like about it. She's into the details. She gets to the granularity. But let's get okay. We're today on the show. We're going to go from Georgia live, Arizona live. We're going to be in Pennsylvania live. We're going to get updates. We're going to talk to you about, and to pull back the camera, we're going to have hopefully the analytics guys show up in the second half to walk through this. We're going to have Rudy live about these lawsuits. Strategically, there's a lot of things going on. One is that votes are not fully counted yet, right? And I will tell you, you can see the way Arizona is trending. The reason Arizona is coming in slow is, let me just take a wild guess here. It's good news for Trump. I want to reset over the weekend what happened. Remember, Friday night we had a massive win at the Supreme Court with Justice Alito. That win was more than just segregate out the votes. It basically called out the Secretary of State for being a liar and froze her in place. She was frozen. Boom, and put the spotlight right on her. The next morning, we had a massive victory at 11 o'clock, 9 o'clock live on the show. From Maricopa County, Trump cut the deficit by 1/3, 9,000 positive votes. And Rudy was stepping up there. And look, I thought the location was quite populist. The parking lot of the Garden thing. I didn't like it when they announced the Four Seasons. I said, what are we doing this in the Four Seasons for? It says, no, it's the Four Seasons seed store. I go, okay, I'm feeling better, right? Rudy was sitting there talking about what a lawsuit was going to be. All positive news for the president. Nothing, remember, nothing changed. Nothing changed on Biden's side. He'd already had the stupid, and they realized if he gets too many dumb speeches like Friday night. Remember, Biden came out, you didn't know what planet he was on. He was just yammering again. They knew they had a problem. And here's the other problem they had. Fox News was not prepared to call this. Fox realized they got this issue with Arizona. I'll let them sort it out. All I can tell you is Arizona looks like it's going against them right now. But Fox, I think, put the word out. We're not going to call him president-elect or anybody because, and we're not going to call this. They're all waiting for us to call it. They're all waiting for us to call it because that will cut the heart out of the Trump followers. They weren't going to do it. So at 11 o'clock, the mainstream media, the information warfare department of the globalists, understand they had a problem. Momentum to Trump. Wins in the Supreme Court, particularly Alito, who's from that neck of the woods, who knows how corrupt it is up there, right? You've also got Arizona. You got Rudy standing up. Boom. All of a sudden, out of nowhere, they call it. At 11 o'clock on a Saturday morning, will you please stop? There's no conspiracy, but there are no coincidences. At 11 a.m. on a Saturday, you just got to run. You got to hustle out there, right? You know why? They tried to Bigfoot the Trump news. They knew they're going to have more positive news coming out of Arizona. You're going to have more positive news coming out of that total chaos in Georgia. And where is the Republican governor? Governor Kemp, just understand something. You don't exist if it's not for Donald Trump. The Secretary of State there does not exist if not for Donald Trump. It's time. Why? I think he's ghosting people, right? So then over the weekend, positive news, and today the lawsuits are going. You got lawsuits going up in Michigan. You got lawsuits going up in Pennsylvania. You've got, it looks like I'm hearing, word has it that they're going to be so close in Arizona, or maybe even a Trump win, that they're going to have to do a hand recount in Maricopa County. And hey, that's only going to cut against the Biden vote. So there's many good things here. The statistical analytical people, the hedge funds obviously worked out the numbers last week. We're going to try to get some people on here to walk you through the math of what's going for. But here's the crossroads in the strategy. You can either push for recounts or you can push to disqualify the ballots. This is the strategic the divide. Now, you can't do a combo platter, right? You can't do, we want recounts. The central issue here is not recounts. The central issue here is getting rid of these unverifiable, uncertifiable ballots. And remember, the clock's ticking against the Democrats. December 6th and December 8th, every minute of every day gets closer and closer to that. And the profiles encourage you're going to have to see from state legislatures. Pennsylvania, just saying, just throwing out a random name. You know, I don't care. You're hearing, oh, my God, they're getting calls. You know, they're going to burn their houses down. Hey, this is why you're an elected official. Stand tall. Be brave. Show a profile and courage. But this is where we stand today. It is the Trump people are in there fighting for certifying every possible ballot on this first round in Arizona, in Georgia, right? They're still doing it out in Wisconsin. They haven't finished. I don't even think they count yet, right? Then I think they'll do a quick recanvass, and then the lawsuit will be dropped. So a major lawsuit in Michigan is being readied. John James is only down 60,000 votes, but you start disqualifying those ballots, it's a new deal. Right, you saw Rudy and Sidney Powell lay out yesterday, kind of the architectonics of it, right? That how big this could be. So it's take heart, take heart. It's a narrow gate. Understand it's a narrow gate, but it's a gate.
And if these elected officials need some courage, let's remember what our founders pledged when they signed the Declaration of Independence that led to the death of about a third of them. We pledge our lives, our fortunes, and our sacred honor. Pay special attention to that third one, you elected officials.
So, yeah, people put it all on the line before. President Trump's not backing down this. Don't believe any of the things about leaks, right? You do have people like Chris Christie. I just want to go back and Chris Christie, his advice to move on. This is the exact same guy that on Billy Bush Saturday sat there in the residence of Trump's thing up in the penthouse of President Trump. And he and Rudy were the first two to go when we went around the room. His quote was, "This election's over," right? This is 16. This election's over. You have to worry now about saving your business empire for your children, right? Same exact speech he gave today. We blew up Christie at that time. Christie's too gutless to get on the plane the next day and go to St. Louis with us. That's Chris Christie. Chris Christie's a profile in cowardice. He always is, because he is a coward, okay? He's always been a political coward. I should start calling him Mr. 9%. So I know the president's not listening to him, but you're going to hear Chris Christie and the guys like Romney and Christie are going to be held up by the mainstream media as the saints. We're going to be the people that we're taking your names. We're taking your names. You're going to be off all social media. You're not going to be invited back to CNN. We don't care. We don't care. That's not. I tried to clean up a little bit over the weekend. I did shave, right? Tried to clean up a little bit. Eventually, I'm going to get this haircut. Or at least trimmed. Don't ever get a cut, but at least trimmed. But we're in for the fight because he won this election. Now it's just about closing on this election. And I understand some people get discouraged. Some people close to the campaign. Some people in the campaign get discouraged. That's okay. That's human nature. But you've got a cadre of fighters that actually, with lawyers, see the path to close on the victory. And I want everybody out in the audience to know we're not. If we thought we were chasing rabbits, we'd go into something else. We are going to do multiple things here. The one thing we're going to do, and John Ferguson did, we're going to actually have a radio station in Georgia. We're going to be all over Georgia. We may deploy actually some of our assets from here down to Georgia, right? That's not because we're losing sight of the presidential. That it kind of converges, because President Trump in his second term needs Midge and the boys and ladies to be there. Okay, we're going to go live to John Fredericks. John Fredericks has now moved his entire operation down to Georgia, okay, for to get this vote count right, and also about January, I think it's January 6th. This fight is a continual fight. If you think you're going to give you your country back and pat you on the head, you are dead wrong. If you're in for the fight, then you're in the war room. We're going to be back in a minute.
War Room Pandemic with Stephen K. Bannon.
The epidemic is a demon, and we cannot let this demon hide.
War Room Pandemic. Here's your host, Stephen K. Bannon.
Trump team has canvassed all early voters and absentee mail-in ballots in Pennsylvania, and they found over 100 people they think were dead, but 15 people that we verified to have been dead who voted. But here's the one that gets me. 6 people registered after they died and voted. In Pennsylvania, I guess you're never out of it. If Republicans don't challenge and change the U.S. election system, there'll never be another Republican president elected again. President Trump should not concede. We're down to less 10,000 votes in Georgia. He's going to win North Carolina. We've gone from 93,000 votes to less than 20,000 votes in Arizona, or more votes to be counted. There are allegations of system failure, fraud. John James, do not concede. These computers in Michigan do not pass the smell test. Keep fighting for every legal and live vote.
Every legal and live vote. That's Lindsey Graham. We're going to fight. Absolutely going to fight. Have to. And Joe Biden and his campaign should jump into this fight. Joe Biden, if he wants to bring the country together, this is how to bring the country. Let's bring the country together right now over getting to the bottom of what the story is here. Not having your propaganda department in the mainstream media try to bury things. Not having your social media oligarchs you're in business with try to deplatform everybody. Just try to unity. By the way, it doesn't matter if you try to deplatform. We're getting bigger. Everybody, the deplatform is getting bigger and bigger and bigger. So, but Biden, if you want to be the president that does it all, that's how you got to start. Unfortunately, why are you not cooperating? It's quite simple. You know, and the people around you probably don't know because they don't tell you anything, but the people around you know the moment they start cooperating, it all collapses. The Trump 71 million legal votes win hands down, okay, in a sweeping electoral college landslide. Because you win Arizona, you will win Nevada, you will win Georgia, you win North Carolina, you win Pennsylvania, you will win Wisconsin, and to top it all off, the cherry on the top, you will win Michigan, right? A sweep. A sweep. Just like in 16, right? Except we add one, Nevada. This is what's at stake here. This is why we're never going to back down. We're going to get to the bottom of this. And they understand that's why they're putting up such a big thing. They're raising up the profiles of the Christies and the Romneys, all the naysayers, all the weaklings, all the quislings, right? That's not your team. That's not your base. And you've got fighters over there. You've got Dave Bossie. Dave Bossie is a heavy pair of hands. He's not a guy going to be in front of the sticks all the time. He's not going to be in front. He's not going to be doing the shows, but he's behind the scenes grinding this, and he's a grinder. You got Rudy Giuliani, and I realize there's people at the campaign that mock and ridicule him. Okay, if that was the case, campaign geniuses, where were you with those lawsuits the other days? Not the frivolous ones you threw out there that got all blown out. The real ones. Where were you guys? If you were so smart, the lawyers on the campaign and all you guys, where were you? Right? And the strategy you've got on the recounts is wrong strategy. It's got to be go disqualify these ballots, which you can do. Look at the statistical probability. Cortez walks through. I think it'd be like having Major League Baseball, having a random day in Major League Baseball, and every game was a no-hitter, right? That's the types of. It just didn't happen. It didn't happen. It was made to happen, and that's what we're getting back of. We're going to go around the horn now. I want to go to Georgia, and this is quite important. One of our distribution partners, John Fredericks, who this show would not exist without John Fredericks. John Fredericks and Brian Colfage were the two guys that were able. We could launch this literally by turning a switch and getting on and getting up. And I want to thank both of them are just superstars that had built. One had built a radio platform, the other built Facebook. We were able to pull the trigger and just get on with it. The John Fredericks Radio Network is the network of the deplorables. It's got the Trump base. His app is everybody's on the app listening to this thing. John joins us from Georgia. Why have you gone from Richmond, Virginia? You know, people from Richmond are very sensitive about Atlanta, because Atlanta always claimed like it was the new city of the South and all that kind of talk and Gone with the Wind and all that. Richmond's always been the leading city in the South, so we're very sensitive when somebody goes from Richmond to Atlanta. What are you doing in Atlanta, Georgia?
Well, it's ground zero, Steve. I mean, this is where allegations of fraud exist beyond the pale. We've got a Republican Secretary of State and a very competent deputy that are going to be looking into this. And we got 132,000 votes right now. That is, we have 132,000 votes right now. I think my video's back that were counted in Fulton County. That we're trying to figure out what the level of fraud is there. Many of them are said to be not legitimate votes. People coming, people that were registered in two places, names didn't match. Addresses didn't match, signatures don't match, all that stuff can't happen. So there's a lawsuit right now in Georgia to disqualify those 132,000 ballots. And you nailed it. This isn't just about a recount of the fraud. right? That's all a recount does, is verify the fraud. This is about looking at every one of these ballots, be sure they're certified and verifiable, and if they're not, they're going to get thrown out. Though there's a likelihood now that these 132,000 ballots get tossed out. If that happens, Trump is going to carry Georgia. Also, David Perdue is going to avoid a runoff. But even if he doesn't, the country is the America that we know is going to be decided in one day, and that's January 6th, with these two runoffs in Georgia, Kelly Loeffler and David Perdue. Chuck Schumer said Sunday, give me these two seats, I'll fundamentally change the country forever. He said it, so you got all sorts of allegations here, Steve, and that's why we're down here. I moved my operation to Atlanta for the time being. I'm going to be here for 2 or 3 weeks. We're launching the Georgia Star on November 18th. We're hiring journalists now so we can have an outlet here. We're trying to get a radio station here. We've got to bring sunlight to this nonsense. But you have so many allegations here of fraud. Now, in the runoff, you actually have Democratic operatives on Facebook, get this, saying, hey, come to Georgia for a week, stay with us, we'll feed you, you stay at our home, change your residency for a week, get an absentee ballot, vote for the Democrats, and go home. And that is a loophole. Right now, that's technically legal. And we don't do anything to combat this, Steve. That's why we're here.
Republican governor and a Republican Secretary of State that don't exist politically unless for Donald J. Trump. Why have they I haven't seen these people anywhere. I keep hearing the Secretary of State's terrific, but I don't see it. And I keep hearing the governor is terrific, but he looked like he ghosted everybody. Where are the Republican officials in the state of Georgia overseeing this man? Everything I hear, I get a red siren on some of these news sites like CFP, the Citizens Free Press and others, Revolver. You get all this stuff, National Pulse, that the Secretary of State's going down to the Farm Bureau or the Farm Arena or whatever it is, that there's some sort of big problem, but then you don't hear any follow-up. So what is going on? The 132,000, as you know, the mainstream media is not playing that up. That's why the 71 million people that voted for Donald J. Trump need to hear the truth. And I promise you, people, we're not going to chase rabbits here. We think we're chasing rabbits. We're going to focus on other things. We're not chasing rabbits. But why are Republican elected officials not stepping up to the sticks and admitting they've had this Georgia thing is an embarrassment? This is a catastrophe in Fulton County.
Fear of the unknown. And look, it's easier to sit back and be Nikki Haley or Mitt Romney and saying, well, things don't look good. We really need a smooth transition of power and do a Trump eulogy. It's just easier to do that. And they're looking ahead, well, maybe I'm better off doing that in the future. But I got to tell you, if Governor Brian Kemp, who's been a stalwart Trump supporter from day one, if he doesn't step up, he's going nowhere. Same with the Secretary of State. We've heard the noise. Now we got to do the investigation, but they should be front and center. But I tell you one thing, the Trump campaign hired Lynn Wood. This is the attorney that got the big settlement for that Catholic young fellow against the Washington Post. He's heading this up. This is a serious player, Lynn Wood. So we're looking forward to that. But you're right, Steve. The silence, the crickets on the behalf of the key elected officials in Georgia. You haven't heard anything from the lieutenant governor either. You haven't heard everything is coming from the Trump campaign and from the lawyers. Nothing from them. They need to step up. You're absolutely correct.
Okay, so walk us through, for our audience, because we're going to Arizona, we're going to go to Pennsylvania. We got Rudy up, and Rudy's going to, I think, do a press. They're filing today in Pennsylvania a major lawsuit. We got about a minute and a half left. What is our current status in Georgia?
Well, we're down by 10,000 votes, almost to the dime. 10,000 votes in Georgia. We're down. There's 8,000 provisional ballots that haven't been counted. Every time we think they're going to go, all of these mail-in ballots, every time we think they're going to go Trump's way, they don't. So that has to be looked at. But we've also got thousands of ballots in Georgia that voted for mail-in ballots, Steve, that voted for one candidate, Biden. Nobody down ticket. No Libertarian, no Senate, no Congress, no House of Representatives, no State House, just Biden. What are the chances of that you're going to get thousands of people voting for one person? It's like you said, it's like everybody throwing a no-hitter on the same day. I think what Steve Cortez said that. These are infinitesimal. A lot of these ballots are going to get thrown out. As they do, we're confident that Georgia is going to flip for Trump and that Purdue might even avoid a runoff. But the state elected officials, Steve, they have to step up and be part of this fight.
Okay, the John Fredericks Radio Network have shifted their command to Atlanta, Georgia. They're going to be there, see this thing through for the president. Also, they are prepping a major operation in Georgia for at least one, maybe two of these Senate seats. John Fredericks, thank you very much. An American patriot, the oracle of the deplorables. The reason the deplorables love this guy, works 24, 7 days a week, all weekend. I'm on with this guy Saturday night texting, as you guys know, because you're at the receiving end of these things. He's working 24/7. That's what you need to do here. Be constantly on the. It's time to go to the ramparts. Next from Arizona.
Pandemic with Stephen K. Bannon.
The epidemic is a demon, and we cannot let this demon hide.
War Room. Pandemic. Here's your host, Stephen K. Bannon.
As an homage to Greg Manns, the War Room hero that is now at the campaign, has been at the campaign, I think, since June. Went over there with Jason Miller, who's a hockey player, one of the Hanson brothers. We got a high sticking penalty. We're still in the penalty box, I think, of YouTube. We're in the penalty box everywhere, but particularly YouTube. How can people actually get the show this morning? And more importantly, we got to hear these comments in either hashtag War and Pandemic or in the live stream. So, Raheem, how do we get to this thing, Raheem?
I just did a tweet thread on all of the places that people can watch it right now. So you've got the americasvoice.news website. You've got the warroom.org website. You can, of course, subscribe on iTunes, on Google Play, on Spotify, on Stitcher, on SoundCloud. And, of course, we've added in the last day a Rumble account, which is just rumble.com. You can search for Bannon's War Room. I've also linked to it there in the thread so that people, and we have 40,000 subscribers already on Rumble after just a couple of days. So you know we had 200,000 on YouTube when they zapped us. Not doing badly on putting that coalition back together.
We'll get our high stick.
Yeah, but I mean maybe we don't need to be.
I like that. Okay, give me an update. We're going to go out to Phoenix in a minute to the state capitol to Ben Bergquam of Real America's Voice. By the way, the heroes in Denver, all these DDoS attacks. Fantastic folks worked all the weekend to make sure we get up this morning. So look, CCP can't shut us down. Russian KGB can't shut us down. Deep state or in-your-face state can't shut us down. Unstoppable. Before we go there, give me your assessment of where we are this morning. Are we chasing rabbits or is this real?
I've gone through, the reason I've been so quiet so far is I've gone through these 5 new reports that have been provided by a team of PhD statisticians that, as people on social media will know, I helped put together this team over the last couple of days, and they've been just churning through the numbers here. There are, of course, and these are maths guys, right? So they're not coming at this from a political perspective. So a lot of them are just saying, look, we need more data, we need more time to analyze. However, what they are coming up with right now, there's especially a couple of things right now that are very, very worthy of further investigation. The audience will be familiar at this point in time with Benford's Law, which is the idea that you have a recurring set of numbers, and that number, degenerates the further on that you get. You plot the graph and you see how it fits in with the broader thing. We're finding, not on a Pennsylvania-wide, and they're really looking at the Pennsylvania numbers here, but we're not finding on a Pennsylvania-wide thing that there's necessarily Biden's line of fits worse than Trump's, but it's not necessarily outside the Benford's Law margins. However, when you go down to a county level, it does start freaking out in a big way. So, for instance, Allegheny County looks incredibly suspect, and what I'm seeing in this data here,
that's Pittsburgh,
is enough for a judge to go, okay, we need to look into this. This is hard data. This is statistical analysis. This isn't how I feel.
I was with somebody over the weekend that's going to bring at least 25 affidavits, I think, for Pittsburgh, for the poll watchers and others, election officials and others that have major discrepancy there. That at least will be able to give you. Remember, what the Biden campaign doesn't want is discovery. And what I'm saying to Biden and particularly his campaign, if you want him ever to be considered legitimate on anything, You got to come forward. You should be proactive. You should be going to court as a plaintiff with the Trump campaign and saying, yes, we want to see this information. That we're confident our guy won fair and square, right? That he did get a mandate, right? And the way to do that is to walk in as a plaintiff, walk in or as a co-counsel and say, yes, the American people need to see this. He will never be considered legitimate. He will never be considered duly elected. He will never be considered legal. And you will come out as American. You guys will actually come out as American patriots because he's not legal. He's not legitimate. He's not going to be the president of the United States. I don't care if Jake Tapper and Zucker and, all the crew of CNN and MSNBC run around with their hair on fire, right? It's not going to happen. Raheem.
I've just been told by our helper, Rebecca, as well, that we need to plug the Parler account. War and Pandemic is on Parler as well.
Okay.
86,000 followers, so you can make sure you get all the... And she live tweets the show from there as well, so you're going to want to make sure you tune into that.
Fantastic. Let's go to... I want to go... Jack Maxey. By the way, we got major pandemic news in the next hour. People keep telling me over the weekend, take it down, change it to something else. No. Pandemic, still here, right? Trust me. You got Cuomo, you got the vaccine. You're going to have is this vaccine right? You got what China? We
got the mail-in ballots.
The whole mail-in ballots. The whole architecture of this is a subset of what the CCP did, which nobody still wants to talk about, but we're going to talk about. What do you got?
No. I mean, we've got the vaccine and stuff coming out. We've got some things to talk about. I think we're going to play some clips from Cuomo going forward. But I will say we've still got the hashtag War Room Pandemic posse still going hard.
Let's hear it. We need to see hard.
And hear from Pebbles. Hashtag War Room Pandemic. The deplorables are here. We will not be silenced. We will not stop. We stand for liberty and justice for all. And in the end, God will win. Be not afraid.
Listen, here's why this is so important. You changed world history in 16. This is the 4th anniversary. This is our 4th anniversary show. 2:30 in the morning in 2016, Donald Trump, became president-elect of the United States, right? All those votes were eventually certified. Now, two faithless electors ended up not voting for him, so our 306, I think, went to 304. But this is the 4th anniversary of this. You changed world history on November 3rd. 71 million people. We got 62 and a half. Basically, our demographics showed that I think 2 million of ours died or went to nursing homes. So I always consider we started a base at 60. That means we brought 10.5 million people out to vote. This was not a repudiation of Trump. This is not a repudiation of Trump. You're more powerful than ever. Why do you think they want to crush you? Why do you think they want to break your spirit? You have changed world history. Now, why do you think they're trying to crush this show? Because we link you with Lao Beijing, old 100 names, the deplorables of China. This is a global movement. This is why half of our audience is international. This is why we want to thank GTV and G News that helps get us out throughout the world, right? And you see these comments that come in from people that are deplorables in every nation on earth. And they want to fight. And remember, this election was not just the most important election in American history. It was the most important in 5,000 years of Chinese history. That's why so many Chinese from the diaspora, come into this show. That's why we do this show every day. That's why this show is as relevant in Phoenix, Arizona, we're going to go to in a second, as it is in New Zealand, as it is in Europe, as it is in Italy and North Africa, Sub-Saharan Africa, India, Hong Kong, Taiwan. Why does everybody throughout the world listen and watch this show, from hedge fund managers to the thought police at Media Matters to political operatives to old 100 names in Wuhan, who, remember, we had a whole show of Wuhan people who were crying for help back a couple of months ago, back in the middle, not a couple of months ago, back in the beginning. Remember, we're the first show ever to do pandemic. People mocked us. People ridiculed us. I'm talking about mainstream media. When we started this in January. You guys are a bunch of nutcases. I said, I think this changes world history, which it did. But we're winning. More importantly, you're winning. That's what they're taking the show down, not because of Raheem and Steve Bannon. We're just clowns, bozos that do this every day. It's you. It's you. The two most important interviews we've had on this since the election day both came from the guy that's out there in Phoenix, Ben Bergquam. He did a package of some guy out there in Phoenix with a beard. Looks like a guy you do not want to give stink eye to in a bar. And he was the most eloquent about what the system was and why this had to work. And then the woman who came up and said, this is bigger than Trump. This is more important than Trump. This is about the Constitution. She was saying this a week before Mark Levin. I know Mark Levin was saying the entire time, but my point is, Mark Levin is one of the most serious constitutional lawyers and scholars we have. This is just some woman who's a deplorable with a red MAGA hat on. That's what this fight's about. Before we go to Phoenix and the state capitol, Maggie, what do you got for us? Maggie Vandenberg, one of the top influencers, conservative influencers. Here is our co-host.
Well, I just wanted to remind everyone that the markets are pumping with the announcement of this vaccine, and global stocks have surged. We've got 2 drug companies have announced that their coronavirus vaccine is 90% effective in tests. Right now, currently, the Dow is up about 4% or 1,100 points. NASDAQ up 1.14%. S&P up 2.85%.
Remember, one of the reasons it's up, and we're going to get this thing for the crowd out there that may say, this was a little quick. Dr. Jan's not a big name in this vaccine. We'll get into all that. I know there's a lot of people out there say, hey, you're not going to shoot me up with this thing. We'll get into all those details as we go forward. One of the reasons the market's on fire, let's be brutally frank, the party of Davos has popped the champagne. They've got rid of Trump, right? And they got Midge and to control the Senate, what they call split government. They're all in love with split government now, right? This is because they don't want the Democrats to do any of the radical stuff. The bottom line is they want to be back in business with the Chinese Communist Party. That's why the market's up. They want to be back. They think the party's going to roll because all of a sudden you don't have to listen to Peter Navarro and you don't have to listen to Bob Lighthouse. That crazy Bannon is not relevant anymore. We're back in business. The champagne's popping from Beijing to the City of London to Wall Street to all the corporate suites, all the C-suites. They're high-fiving, right? Got to get Midge to control because we don't want too crazy, right? We don't want AOC in our life. So that's what we got to do. That's what the scam is. Of course it's up. And now they got the vaccine. Of course, Drudge has got to have the headline. The vaccine thing was not part of Trump's program. Got to put that in there, right? Can't give Trump any credit whatsoever. Matt Drudge, you're a disgrace.
Well, and also even Pfizer is announcing all of this. 1 week after the election,
1 week.
right?
No conspiracy, but there are no
I have a doctor in Scotland who just wrote to me, and he said, you realize that part of Biden's health team wrote to Pfizer in advance in October and said, please delay the notification of the vaccine.
Okay, let's go quickly to Ben Bergquam of Real America's Voice. Been doing great work out there. He's now at the state capitol in Phoenix. Ben, give us your situation report.
Thanks, Steve. Just real quick, you are absolutely right. And the comments about this as being bigger than President Trump, this is global. If America falls, the world falls. Right now in Arizona, we are the gap has been shrunk to 17,000 votes. We're looking at 70+ thousand votes still to count, not including veterans vote or military votes still coming over. So the election is still very much in play here. And again, that's also not including the affidavits that have gone out for hundreds of Arizonans whose votes have not been counted, and all of the questions about votes being changed from Trump to Biden. We actually had an election or a poll watcher come out and talk to us and say that he had on a couple occasions seen ballots that had Trump and all Republican down tickets that had been marked out for Trump and marked in for Biden, and he was told to list it as Biden, otherwise they'd have to discount the entire ballot. And this was in one location here in Maricopa County. There are so many examples of this. It's again, and it's sad that it's only us and a couple others that are reporting this. The rest of the media, just like you said, they want to high five, they want to pop the champagne, they want to move on, but we won't let them.
I tell you what, Ben, if you could hold, and I know I've got more questions for you when we come back from break. We also got Boris Epshteyn from the campaign itself. So I want to just hold. We're going to come back with you. I want to talk about that 70,000 votes, because I'm hearing that a portion of that, 50,000, actually are the contested ballots, there's actually 25,000 real ballots. So I just want to see if there's enough squeeze in the lemon here to bring this down to something. Also, what's going on in Maricopa County, I'm hearing about maybe a hand recount. We're going to come back to Ben Bergquam in a moment after our commercial break. I've got Raheem Kassam, Fog City Midge, the top influencer. I've got Jack Maxey. Real quickly, Raheem, how do people get the show, and how do they get into the conversation?
The best way to get the show right now is making sure you go to warroom.org or pandemic.warroom.org. We've got the live stream embedded there.
Or America's Voice, americasvoice.news.
You can go to americasvoice.news, although I am concerned about their traffic load over there. This show is getting bigger and bigger the more they try and censor us. Subscribe on Rumble, subscribe on Parler, subscribe on all the podcast platforms. Leave us a review and make sure you give us 5 stars.
Okay, you've come to the War Room. Remember, in the War Room, there's no tears, no whining, no clutching of pearls. You're here for a fight. But remember, it's fights that matter, and this matters. Back in a moment.
War Room Pandemic with Stephen K. Bannon.
The epidemic is a demon, and we cannot let this demon hide.
War Room Pandemic. Here's your host, Stephen K. Bannon.
Okay, let's go back out to Phoenix, Arizona, the state capital. It is Ben Bergquam from Real America's Voice. Ben, about is there enough votes out there to make a difference? The way it's trending for Trump, number one. Number two, what about these lawsuits? Number three, tell me about this potential hand recount of Maricopa County. Go, sir.
Yeah, so there is. We were talking about the numbers. I'm hearing there's a few discrepancies on the exact breakdown of what that 70,000 vote number is, but a lot of them are provisional ballots. There were people that were listed as vote by mail. They came in to vote in person. That many of these people have been out protesting for the last week since the election, saying their vote hasn't been counted. And if that's the case, if 50,000, the number you were talking about, are provisional ballots, then most of those, from what I'm hearing, will be Trump supporters that came out day of that were listed as vote by mail and ended up voting in person. So yes, there is room, but it is tight. President Trump would have to win 61+% of the vote from here on out to win it outright. Outside of that, though, really the question is the amount of fraud that we're seeing, the call for hand recount. That is the big concern. Elections aren't decided by the voters, they're decided by the counters. And that is the concern that so many of the people out here have. They don't trust the counting that's been going on. And so they have been demanding an in-person hand recount. And that's what we're waiting to see. And then the lawsuits on top of that. So that they all tie together. They're all leading towards, if we're able to get discovery of you, as you continue to mention, the Trump campaign, we spoke to Boris Epshteyn this weekend, they believe that they will come out on top on Arizona, but not just Arizona, in Georgia, in Pennsylvania, and possibly even in Michigan.
Okay, it's about about getting rid of these ballots. Okay, Ben, thank you very much for having the afternoon show. Ben, you've got a package. Let's go to the package right now. If Denver can play the package, Ben's package with Boris Epshteyn right now, I want to hear this, then we're going to go to Boris Live.
What's the latest?
The latest is that we feel great about the state of Arizona. President Trump was down by 29,000 votes this morning after a drop from Pinal County, and the Maricopa County, that's down to about 20.5 thousand votes, and it's continuing to move toward President Trump. 128,000 ballots still outstanding, so the numbers look great. We're confident once all the legal ballots are counted, legal votes are counted in Arizona, President Trump will win Arizona.
What would you say to the American people that are watching? We're seeing some of these news outlets, fake news outlets, coming out and declaring a winner. What is your message to the American people on that?
The winner is not decided by the national media, the mainstream media, the left-wing media. It is decided by us, the American people, and that decision has not yet come down. We do not know. There's a lot going on in Georgia. We know the military ballots are still outstanding. We're confident that President Trump will win Georgia. A lot of shenanigans in Pennsylvania. Historically, Pennsylvania has been a Democrat-run state. Philadelphia, a Democrat-run city, and there's a lot of irregularities. Rudy Giuliani laid that out very well, and there's going to be action. The Supreme Court Justice, a leader of the Supreme Court, has already made one ruling on that on Pennsylvania. There's going to continue to be more. The American people need to watch the information, watch the numbers. That's where it is. It's in the numbers. See what's going on with Dominion, the software technology that's been flipping votes from Republicans to Democrats, being used across the country. President Trump just tweeted that it's apparently been used in the state of Georgia. We need to get to the bottom of all these issues, make sure that only the legal and all the legal votes are counted, and with that, President Trump will win re-election. We're confident.
Okay, I want to now go out to Phoenix and into Maricopa County and to Boris Epshteyn. If we can bring Boris on, I want to see Boris. Do we have Boris Epshteyn?
You got me.
Okay, so Boris, you just had a great package there from Ben Bergquam. The question I've got is there enough squeeze in the lemon to make this relevant out in Arizona? I know on Saturday morning when he announced the 9,000 vote net positive for Trump that cut the lead by a third, the mainstream media immediately went and announced Biden as the winner because they didn't want to have more good news like that coming out. This is one of the reasons I think this thing's being slow walked out of Maricopa County, right? There's good news for Trump, and they want this good news they want Trump to bleed out before the good news gets there. Is there enough squeeze in the lemon to make a difference here for Trump?
No doubt about it. We're actually in a better place now, Steve. And thanks for having me on. Always great to be with you. Fox City Midge is a great friend, and it's a great honor to be with all of you guys. We are in a better place today, Steve, than we were when I taped that package with Ben. Okay? We have about 80 to 100,000 votes still left. Yes, good amount of those are provisional, but a lot of those provisionals, as Ben said, are same-day voters who got a mail ballot, listened to President Trump, went to the polls and said, "I want to vote in person." So if you don't think those people are cutting our way, I've got a bridge in Brooklyn to sell you. So we have about just under 17,000 to make up. We have about 80 to 100,000 votes left out there, a good amount in Maricopa. Then we've got Bannon. We've got some in Pima, which actually has been breaking toward President Trump. So I am feeling very good about it. Let's put it this way. Even CNN did a 3.5-minute package yesterday on how Arizona is very much still in play for President Trump.
Last thing to go. What about this hand count? What about, we got about a minute left. What about the hand count? What about the lawsuit? You're kind of in charge of the situation out there. Update people on where these lawsuits are going to go, and update people about this potential hand recount of Maricopa County.
Well, the lawsuit is actually a lawsuit that both sides, as you said, Democrats and Republicans should agree that every legal vote should be counted. So that's what this lawsuit is focused on. I was on Fox News, actually, on their turf talking about it yesterday, because there are machines here in Arizona that were used for the first time that were forcing the wrongful damaged ballots through, just disenfranchising the people whose ballots they were. We want a total recount of all Maricopa votes just to make sure that those votes are counted. Now, whichever way they do it, they can rescan them, they can hand count them. The key is to just count those votes. We want every legal vote counted in Maricopa, in Arizona, and we want every legal vote counted all across the country.
Are there additional bigger lawsuits? I tell you what, why don't you hang on? We're going to bring you back. We got Rudy in the next hour. We want to bring Boris Epshteyn back. We're running out of time. Boris Epshteyn is going to hold. He's heading up the campaign's effort out in Arizona. Boris Epshteyn, he's one of our key surrogates in 16. This guy was such a hammer. CNN said, please never send him back. He's too good. Remember, CNN and MSNBC, they only want stiffs on there. If you're bringing warriors, they don't want warriors, right? They get their fill of Boris Epshteyn and Jason Miller and these guys pretty quickly. Guys that can push back, guys can chop block, right? That's where we are now. You're down to the hardcore, which I kind of like. We're going to be back with Rudy Giuliani and Boris Epshteyn, going everywhere next.